Ryan Winter, deja vu. Time is a flat circular. Time is a flat circle. Here we are again. It is great to have you on Sports Chat 503, the longest running podcast in the Oregon fan community. I appreciate you stopping by to say hi.
Well, thank you so much, Dale. Appreciate you. You've been on my channel. It's only right that I'm on your channel, buddy.
Well, I appreciate the quid pro quo, but I also have to tip my hat to the GOAT, the guy who has been here, done that, and been the authentic voice of the Oregon fans for 16 years.
I mean, yeah, dude. Well, thank you very much. But it really, there's no ego to it. It's just I talk to a computer. I've always said there's people, who they come into this space thinking maybe they're going to try to do something with it, try to advance their career in some way, shape, or form, be the next, national spokesperson or something. I'm not that guy. I have a great career. I've got a great life. I love the community we built. Sports Chat 503. If you're not aware, I do live streams on Tuesday nights, 5:30 to 7:30. Have a great community in there. We pretty much do about 100 or 200 people in there during the off season. In the regular season, they can get up to 1,000 people in there real quick. I mean, the regular season stuff just gets absolutely crazy. We start talking a lot of stuff, and people are interested in it. I grew up listening to a lot of sports radio. I love the banter back and forth. I would love to take calls if I could, Topeka, but I love the medium. I love the community, and I love being a member of the community. We can chat. And I just happened to be at that place at that time. 2010, I had a buddy of mine who was a great football player. He knew the game very well. And I just said, hey, man, let's chat it up online. Let's just sit here and talk to this camera, talk to the computer. He's like, dude, you're crazy. No one will watch this. And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, well, we're talking about it. Why wouldn't we just talk about it and then just share it online? We don't even need to talk to the computer. We can just talk to each other and then just put it online. He's like, whatever, dude, let's try it. And we did it, and it worked out well. I went to a lot of the games. It wasn't necessarily an Oregon Duck focus all the time. It was sports chat. We talked about everything. We loved UFC and, NFL, NBA. We talked about everything. So it's now kind of turned into mainly a Duck focus thing because as soon as I start talking about other sports or whatever, people don't really have that much to talk about. But as a Blazer fan, I got plenty to talk about, obviously, now with this goddamn Blazer Moda Center thing. But, my thing is that, people have always said, I've got the gift of gab. I can talk. I can do, 2-3 hours. I sit at the live stream and I do 3 hours, no commercial, no notes or anything, all off the top for the most part. We have a great community, a lot of really good banter. And then in the regular season, I do videos on the Ducks. I do previews and reviews, and then I do Big Ten and national college football. And it keeps me in the game. It keeps me watching film. I'm more interested in what's going on with these schools and with these teams because I have this platform, and I just love to represent the U of O. My whole family's from U of O. My grandparents, my parents, my son's there now. So it's a family affair.
Well, what drives the popularity of your show, Ryan, is the authenticity. I mean, you are yourself. You are real. You're just a genuine guy who loves sports. And that's what comes through.
Yeah, and I played all sports as a kid. I was the captain of every team I played on. I took sports really seriously, I went to tons of summer camps. I mean, Larry Steele taught me how to shoot the basketball. I go into the Moda Center, and I look up at number 15. I'm like, dude, Larry freaking Steele. I mean, AC Green taught me how to put my feet at the free throw line. And I listen to these guys because I'm like, hey, dude, if AC Green is telling me how to do something on a basketball court, I think I'll take his advice, And so, for me, I love sports. I respected sports a great deal. I wasn't a great student, and it's funny that I'm now a high school teacher, but I love sports. And the thing I've always said that I think I'm the best at, and I think that naturally I'm very gifted in that sense is just being a coach and being a people person. My favorite thing I ever did was coach my son in his basketball team. I coached them first grade all the way through their eighth grade. Spring of their eighth grade was COVID. We were going to go on this absolute tear. I had built his whole program. I had an eighth grade team, a seventh grade team, and a sixth grade team. at Lane Middle School in Southeast Portland, and really kind of underserved community. And I was buying jerseys for the kids. I had 3 different teams. I'm paying for tournaments, and I was just, and I always said that on my death, on my gravestone or something, it'll say Ryan Winter, youth coach, because as a teacher, I'm there to help the kids. I'm here to help the students learn, but nothing that I do is as meaningful and is just easy to do for me naturally than to be a coach. The other thing I love to do is just talk, and obviously Sports Chat 503 would prove that. I do, like I said, hours on end, no freaking notes or anything else, all off the top. We could talk about any topic. I could start talking about, Robin Yount and the 1982 Brewers if I needed to. I'm just saying, the point is that I grew up with one of those kids who just was an encyclopedia of sports. I love sports radio. I was a huge Mets fan growing up, and WFAN was the first sports radio in the United States in the 1980s and 90s. And I would go back there. My aunt moved back there to New Jersey. I would do, for like 6 or 7 summers every single year, do like a month over there, go see Mets games and Yankees games and all sorts of other stuff. Listen to WFN every day. And I was like, oh, this is genius. This is what I'm going to do. And I have to know all this stuff. I have to have all this information and all this, and now I'm teaching about the goddamn French Revolution. So it is what it is, Dale. I mean,
But you found a way to make the sports your passion and your hobby, and then you have a solid grounded career as a teacher and coach.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been insulted with the idea that say those who can do, those who can't teach. Well, those who can play and those who can't coach. So it's like, as soon as I was done playing, the first thing I did was go coach. I was out of eligibility. I went right back to coaching. And, I really do marvel at some of these guys who have these, coaching careers. I would just, if I were to be able to go back and do it again, kind of a thing, I might have tried to choose a different path, but I love where I'm at. I love being a teacher. Colin Cowherd, I got to tell you something here, man. Colin Cowherd, the guy, he was from Portland. He's the guy that told me not to get into sports radio, sports business. He's the guy. He was telling me one day, don't get into this industry. It's too crazy of an industry. You're not going to be successful in it. To the next day telling me, I just got signed with ESPN. I'm out of here. Colin, I worked at New Seasons right out of college. I worked at New Seasons in Selwood, and Colin would kill an hour there every single day. And so I would do basically sports chat with Colin Cowherd every single day while he was at lunch, killing an hour. And yeah, so the idea of being a broadcaster, I can do that with my YouTube channel. I can just record and talk as much as I want. I have the live stream. I have the community. People can come in. It's really all I need. I'm not trying to build anything with it. I'm not trying to level up to the next thing. And, we talked about earlier, different podcasts, different settings. People have offered me a variety of different gigs. You're really good at writing with the Autzen Zoo. I would probably be a good writer if I really wanted to be, but I just don't really want to take the time to write that much. And so I've had a lot of people offer, hey, man, would you want to do this as a write-up for this or write-up for that? I said, I'm not really, I'm more of kind of just doing my thing online. I just hit record. It's pretty easy for me to do this. So I really respect media and what they do, and respect all the people in the space and what they do for the community. I just try to do my part. I try to represent the fans. I try to be kind of a voice of reason a little bit, a voice of history, put it into context, put it into kind of the chronology of what else is going on. But, I'm invested as much as anybody else. My son's there at U of O right now. He's, he'll be on the field at every one of these games. Shouts out to my son, Darby Winter Photo, if you want to follow him. He's going to be at all these games. So I'm there. I stay after the games for an hour waiting for my son. I'm there with the players and their families. I've built really strong communities. I mean, some of my best buddies on these teams are these guys' dads. I don't even hang out with the players as much because I'm too old. Now I'm hanging out with their dads. So like right now, my best buddies on the team is Big Dave Uyungule, Josh Connerly Sr., and I used to hang out for days when Josh was here. So, this is our last run with Big Dave. It's going to be fun. Yeah, and I heard you talk about it with KB, getting Big Dave. You should get Big Dave on the show. I'll put in a good word for you, Big Dave.
You
He
know,
has so much to talk about, dude. I mean, he went to Japan before anybody else. He was trying to grow the brand in Japan with American football years before Oregon went over there.
wow. No, I would love to have Big Dave on the show, and I've reached out to him. We had something scheduled for this morning, but it fell through. But we're going to take another crack
Oh
at
yeah,
it
dude.
because he's become like the honorary papa of the Oregon fan
He's the
community.
man, dude. Dude, Dave and I have had some freaking great times. I mean, we've had some late nights out on the road. You know, I love going to road games. You know, one of my favorite things I do as a fan, and I've been blessed to be able to go to some of these games, is, you know, go on the road, hang out with the families, be with the, you know, crowd, to be with the flock, you know, especially if we were traveling. And Dave and I have had some really fun times. I mean, after the Michigan game, we were out till freaking, it felt like 3 a.m. So Dave's a legend. I love that guy. I love his family. And I'm just so proud of Mateo representing that family so well. And you know, like, Mateo reminds me a lot of my son in the sense that, you know, he just gets, it's about that action, boss. Just like what Marshawn Lynch said. You know, I'm about that action, boss. You know, they just get to work. You know, they don't need to talk a lot about it. They just need to get it done. And you know, Mateo this year is looking lean. He's looking fit. You know, I was chatting with him a bunch this spring because I'd see him at the softball game. His girlfriend's a softball, and saw all these guys at the softball games. And the guy who I was most impressed with body types, Aiden Breland. Breland is freaking massive, and he'd be at these softball games every weekend. And yeah, just so proud of the way they carried themselves, the way they represent the university, man. It's a very special team this year, Dale.
It feels that way to me. Mateo's got some steel in his eyes as he answers questions.
He's just super focused guy. He's really quiet. You know, let it be known, I've for years tried to get Mateo on the Sports Chat 503. Trust me. And he's just like, nah, I'm not really into that. You know, it's just not really, and that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I've offered it to a bunch of guys where I've had that kind of basically, you know, interaction, because I don't push it. I'm like, hey man, if you want to come on, cool, that'd be great. And because all I want to do is introduce them as a person. You know, the big picture, Dale, one of the big things about me is because I've played sports, I hate to be the guy who's like, you can't be an analyst unless you played the sport. I don't want to be that guy. Remember that Ryan Clark was the last guy that got fired, right? For, well, maybe some other things. But the idea is that he basically said to Peter Schrager, he's like, you don't know the game because you didn't play. And while I do agree with that statement quite a bit, I don't want to be the guy that is like, if you didn't play the game, you can't understand it. But to me, I've always tried to put a face to the name. And we live in a society where these guys have their helmets on and they are all suited up, ready for armor, and with all armored up, ready for battle. And sometimes you don't really get to know them as a person. And so what I always try to do with having them on Sports Chat was just to give them an opportunity to talk about their family, talk about what they like to do, talk about what they're studying in school, not do the stuff that's not the X's and O's, you know? And I mean, I had Penny Sewell on when Penny was here, and he started breaking down crying, man, talking about his family because he loves his family so much. And talked about one of my other buddies, Gabe Sewell, dude, Penny's dad. Oh my God. So it's just so much fun to be able to unite with these families, you know, work with these kids at the time when, you know, they're still learning. And as a high school teacher, I've always seen who the people are, not just the player. And as a player, I've always tried, as a former player and coach, tried to represent as much as possible the individual and the mentality of the individual rather than it being some faceless robot of sports. And a lot of people, you know, who don't, and I'm not trying to group everybody in here, but there's a lot of people I feel like who didn't play the game and they just expect greatness. You know, I go to Blazer games and these people are like, he should make that goddamn free throw. He's a professional. I'm like, well, I'm going to give you 10 shots at the free throw line and see how many you make out of 10. Now, I was a great free throw shooter, so I am very confident in making free throws, but I've always said that these people in the Rose Garden who want to talk so much junk about the Blazers, there's only probably about 20 or 30 could in the Rose Garden, any game, go out there and give you a 3-pointer. In the whole arena, 20,000 people, I bet there's only about 30 people come out here and twine up that 3. So you got to be careful with having these expectations that you put on these players and wanting these players to run through a brick wall and all this sort of stuff when we know about concussions and mental health and all that sort of stuff. So, Dante Moore writing a children's book, Dante Moore coming out this year talking about mental health, those are all things that you should know about these guys. These guys like to go bowling. This football team this year, this Ducks team, they have really united around bowling. These guys have bought their own ball, Dale. These guys go to the bowling alley with their own ball now. And so it's just one of those things where that's the stuff I'm interested in. That's the stuff that I think is interesting because we're going to get to the football. All the football stuff will take care of itself. All that stuff is going to happen down the road. But to know about who these people are, what they're doing, what their interests are, Poncho just got engaged this last month. I'm so happy for him and his family. Poncho's my favorite Duck on the team right now and has been since he got here. Just a very special individual, very good guy. Sport Chat 503 Familia, and his family, so good. So I'm just blessed to be a part of it and try to represent as much as I can the families that are out there, because it does take a village to raise a child and to have this idea, this college football thing. We all have to work together to make this thing work, and you have a part in it. I have a part in it. Alumni has a part in it. Donating to Ducks Rising. I had Travis on the other night, and just to be able to get as much as we can to try to keep this thing moving forward.
So it's the human side, it's the connection that really appeals to you, and you really feel like that's the power behind all this.
I think it appeals to everybody because here's the deal, Dale. If you already know the X's and O's, what else are we talking about? I was just talking with Spencer about this. Like, part of the thing with Locked On, I think it's great that they do shows every day. I think that's great. But I also think it's too much. I mean, I'll be brutally honest here. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't go online and now I'll have it on. You had KB on the other day. I thought that was great. I'm painting my house in Portland, so I put it on Twitter. I put it in my pocket, and I'm listening to you guys while I'm painting the house. Right? It was either listening to the Dewey Brothers for another hour, which I've already heard 13 times this year, or listen to you guys. Right? And I thought it was great. And I thought, KB is a guy who's been on my channel numerous times. He used to come on my live streams all the time. We've got a lot of love for him personally, but it's fun. I'm trying to promote your channel a little bit. I'm trying to promote what you're doing, boys college football. Just, hey, let's go big picture here. Shout out to Mark Rogers. So Mark Rogers is a guy who I love Mark, dude. Mark's had me on his channel for years. Big fan of Mark, voice of college football. And he's got a little brand now with all these different boys college football settings all over the country and all these different places. And, you just got to give love to the kind of the moderators of the thing, and now we're looking at guys like Josh Pate, who's now going to go on and do the biggest thing. He's going to be the biggest voice of the whole thing in the next 3 or 4 years, probably. It's just shaping that way. And Josh Pate was the guy who I thought was going to be on my show, buddy. I had him on the reel. Numerous chats back and forth. Here we go. We're going to set it up, but he's too big now. He's not going to Sport Chat 503 now. He's busting with the boys and everything, so, but I do think it's something to be said that podcasts and all the internet chatter and everything else, I think it all matters. I think it all is doing your part, and whatever your part is. Like, I had Travis on the other night. We talked about this, about, even people who can't give money to Ducks Rising, go online and just hit retweet, support it in whatever fashion you can. And I'm a big believer in that.
Be engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Spencer and Mark, are taking this thing to amazing levels. They both have the pipes and the drive. I mean, Spencer has Locked on Ducks, Locked on Big Ten, Locked on College Football, Voice of the Southern Utah Utes. I mean, he's going places, and he's one of those guys who's eternally youthful. He's got that Dick Clark, Ryan Seacrest, Rob Lowe thing going on, where he'll look like he's 25 until he's 45. I don't know how he does it.
He was on my channel this earlier this morning. Earlier this afternoon, he and I were chatting up. I love Spencer, man. I've got great relationship with him. He and I have had great conversations over the time. We've seen each other at numerous events when we go. It's usually at the end of the year, some like Big Ten championship sort of stuff. We'll be at the same place at the same time. But my joke with him is that he and I are kind of built like David Spade and Chris Farley. He is like a little guy, and so. I'm just this big, kind of dude. And I'm like I said, 6'2", I used to always say 6'2", 250. I'm at least 260, 260 now. But, I'm a guy who will throw up in the weight room and just be like, all right, throw it down, kind of a thing as I walk through the weight room. And I've always been a big dude. I was 6 foot as an 8th grader. I was always the biggest kid in my, I was always, when they did the bully training, Dale, this is a funny one. They did the bully training for teachers. I was looking around, I was like, I can't think of a time I ever was bullied. And I was like, maybe I was the bully. But Spencer is awesome. Spencer, talk about golf, my favorite thing. Spencer's a freaking great golfer. But we've talked about, great golfer. Oh, yeah, freaking stick. But he and I have talked about, doing like the buddy comedy, whereas like you and I, as freaking Chris Farley and David Spade. But yeah, no, Spencer McLaughlin, one of my favorite guys, professional broadcaster, got great pipes, like you said, really knows the game, knows the X's and O's. He's into it. He's young. He's married to the game, and he's got a really supportive family, great connection. So, no, he's the man. And, Mark, God bless Mark for doing what he does because, he does live streams after live streams, call-in shows. He's got so many different, irons in the fire. And, but he's got great energy. I'm a big believer in, I think everybody should have a YouTube channel. I just, I started mine. And when I started mine, people were like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And, I've never tried to really do much with it. I've never really been into advertising. I've never tried to promote it. I've got a Twitter. I've got an Instagram. It's not like I'm like trying over and over and over and over to promote stuff. And I've got merch now. I've got the last couple of years. This is the koozie, the merch koozie. You can grab one of those for $5. But, it's fun for me. It's like a hobby. It's just something to do. And it keeps me engaged. It keeps me talking about the Ducks and have a lot of fun with it. So it's all about community for me, Gil.
And that community for you is extended. When you go to games now, there are people who want to say hi, have a beer with you, always talk about the game. That's got to feel great. Yeah, that's got to feel great.
It does. I mean, in most random places. I mean, I'm going to the beach 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or something. I'm in Banks, Oregon. I mean, population of whatever. I'm just buying my stuff, going out to the beach for the week, and a guy says, I go up to the thing, and I said something, and he turns around. He's like, sports chat? He's heard my voice. Sports chat? I said, yeah, sports chat, all right. And he was just enthralled. It was like, he said, this is bigger than meeting the president. I have had people say, I am starstruck. And I'm like, dude, I'm just a regular guy. I'm a teacher. The fact that it's just because they see you on YouTube, they see you on a screen, they check in. And I do have some people who are very, very committed to what I'm doing. And I would, again, not try to pat myself on the back here, but I do try to give quality content. I try to give good interviews. I try to have people on that matter. I try to have people who are going to help you understand what's going on. I try to have guys from the other teams come on. We're up against the Boise State Broncos right away. I've already done my preview, Bronco Believer. I've got the Oklahoma State guy coming up this next week here. I try to give some real content. So if you're a Sports Chat 503 watcher, every video that comes out, I'm not Spencer. I'm not there every day. I can't do that. I don't have that sort of stamina. But whenever something that arises is worthy, I'm there. Now, what I do have the stamina for, which a lot of people are not there for, I'm at them games. I am at the games. I am on an airplane going to the place. I am at Autzen Stadium. I'm from Portland, so I'm driving down to these games. I'm at basketball games. I got season tickets for basketball, football, baseball, softball. I mean, I am at the games. And like you said earlier, man, I'm just a diehard sports fan. I love Oregon football. We all love Oregon football, but I love any sport that has Oregon playing a sport. I am a Duck through and through, multiple generation. And yeah, man, I couldn't support a team more than them. And I'm not really this way with professional sports. I obviously from Portland, so I want the Blazers to do well. I want to support the Blazers, but talk about having your heart ripped out. And then imagine how bad it would be if they take the goddamn team away, Dale. And which we're all worried about. And then, for NFL, I bounced around. I used to like a lot of, teams that had Ducks on them. I used to kind of like the Niners or, because they had some Ducks and Derek Lavelle and whatnot. And I like the Bears in the NFC. I like the Steelers in the AFC. It really doesn't matter to me, and so I have no real allegiance outside of the Ducks. And the Ducks is the number one allegiance, not only to me personally, but also my family. My grandparents met, Dale, at a Oregon-Washington game in 1945 coming off the war. So in Seattle, Oregon, Washington, my grandfather was at Oregon before going to the war. My grandmother was at Oregon during the war. She's with her sorority sisters. He's with the officers. They meet up. The classic story, right? At the Governor's Hotel there in Seattle. And so I wouldn't be here without the U of O. My parents met at U of O. And then, my son, I tried to make my son into the greatest Duck fan I could possibly make. He went to over 100 games at Autzen Stadium before he was even at Oregon. He had been to every bowl game that they'd gone to. So he's been to every home game at Oregon since he was 2 years old, been to every bowl game. I mean, it's insane. It's insane, the track record that he's had. And yeah, he loves his Ducks, and we've done a good job with him. And now we're on to hopefully his junior year, cashing this thing in, Dale.
And he's followed in your footsteps. Now he's a full-time photographer in addition to being a college student.
Yeah, he's the Big Ten photographer. So he's the Big Ten Network. Big Ten Network has a photographer every school, and he's the Big Ten Network photographer. And then he works also. He freelances for the U of O. He freelances. Right now, he's shooting at Hayward at the World Championships, the Under-20 World Championships, which is a big deal. And he's there working for another magazine, Track Magazine. He works for John Canzano. He works for Tyson Alger. He works, obviously, Big Ten Network. Yeah, so he's doing a great job. He's had a job with the football team. He's had a job with the Go Ducks, and he's kind of just doing his thing. So hopefully my goal for him is he's obviously can do whatever he wants to do. He's in journalism school, the J School, and he's studying advertising. But I would love to see something open up for him if he can open up somehow locally here, because like I said, he is born and bred to be one of the best Duck fans you could imagine.
And his own background in sports, you coached him in basketball. That gave him a great foundation for being the guy who knows where to be to get the shot.
Yeah. So I'm a high school teacher. I always kind of thought I was going to be the classic 30-year high school teacher, basketball coach. That was always my thought was, boys varsity basketball coach was the goal. And then you just kind of ride it out, and that's kind of how it works. High school social studies and basketball coach, they kind of go together. I thought that was the blueprint for me. I coached a bunch. I coached in high school basketball for years. And then I had a principal that told me, hey, you want to coach your kid or somebody else's kids? Really kind of a revolutionary thought. And he said, you got one kid. This is going to be your one chance. He said, I would stop coaching in high school, and I would just coach your son at everything. And I was like, okay. So I gave it a year or two, and it came full throttle. I coached my son from first grade in every sport, soccer, baseball, basketball, all the way through. He had a really, really good basketball team, the core of guys that he grew up with in his class, his elementary school. All the guys on that team all played varsity basketball in the city of Portland. Our team in elementary school, all turned out to be just absolute studs. We all went to high school, or all went to middle school. The middle school was very underserved. Lane Middle School, one of the worst middle schools in Portland, Southeast Portland, and it was just had nothing, had no team, had nothing. I bought jerseys. I made everything up. I was sending them to tournaments. We were playing all year round. We were playing AAU. We had the like blended A team. We had the B team that was developmental. I had an 8th grade team, a 7th grade team, a 6th grade team. It was just amazing. Then COVID hit. My son's 8th grade year, spring of my son's 8th grade year, lost it. We couldn't go to the state championship. Couldn't do anything in the spring. Real bummer. But yeah, man, my son went on. He's also a good golfer. He played golf his freshman year and then ran track. He actually injured his knee. And so he couldn't play basketball. And so he started taking pictures. That's where the whole picture thing came from, was he still wanted to be with the guys. He still wanted to be with the basketball team. All his friends were on the basketball team, and he couldn't play because he's injured. And so he's like, I'll take pictures. And right at that point, my uncle had given him a camera. And so it all kind of worked together. He starts taking pictures, and then he became that guy. And just one thing led to another. Shout out to Max Torres. Max gave him a really great opportunity when he was a senior in high school, when Max was working for SI. And so Darby got to be the full-time photographer for Max. And then he is the Big Ten photographer now. And so he's living the dream, living a good life.
Did he do some stuff with Scoop Duck too? Was that in there?
Yeah. So J-Hop was the first guy to give him an opportunity. Scoop Duck. J-Hop gave an opportunity right out of the gate when he was a junior. There were 2 games he was able to shoot at the end of the year. Both losses, by the way, Washington and Oregon State. Very difficult times. And then the next year he shot the whole season for Max. So yeah, he's doing great.
That's awesome. It's great to see your son develop his passion and his identity, particularly to have it all come together for him.
Yeah.
Early in his life.
Yeah. We're talking about Colin Cowherd saying not to go do the thing. We went to Chicago to the Northwestern game. We toured the Big Ten Network. We had a time set up because he wanted to go meet all his people at Big Ten Network. And they were all so thrilled to meet him. And we're walking through the whole Big Ten Network. And they're like, oh, Darby. Oh, yeah. And then we turn the corner, and here's Colin Cowherd. His studio is there. The Fox and Big Ten are like related. So the Fox built a studio in Chicago at the Big Ten Network for Colin. And so it comes full circle, and couldn't be more proud of Colin. He's doing a great thing. But yeah, Colin Cowherd, the guy that told me, don't get into sports broadcast. He said, hey, you want to have a family, you want to stay in one place, well, then don't get into broadcasting. It's going to send you all over the place, which is true. And I didn't really want to go chase it. I wanted to be at home and be in Portland, that place I want to be. So it all worked out for the best. I have a great life. I love what I do. I'm absolutely blessed. So there's no second guessing here at Sports Chat 503, Dale.
There's nothing bigger or better than being blessed where you are and feeling good about what you're doing. And it sounds like you've had a really well-rounded life. And as one of the pioneers of minor league sports journalism surrounding the Ducks, you've seen it all. You've been here for the whole history, when it was really painful, when we went 26 years without a bowl game, through the Bellotti years where the program was growing, to a couple of national championship shots. You've seen it all. And now we're at a different place.
Yeah, so I'm born in 78. So Rich Brooks gets, 1977 is Rich Brooks' first year. So I'm born basically in the Brooks era. My junior year of high school was the year that the Ducks went to the Rose Bowl, and I went to the Rose Bowl and saw Kajana Carter, first play of the game, run an 80-yard touchdown right into our end zone. So again, the whole woe is me. Oh, why does this always happen to us? We've been there. The whole D'Angelo Pons interception didn't hurt me as much as it may have hurt others, being the fact that I've kind of seen this act before. Biggest game you've ever been to, the biggest opportunity, and the first play of the game. Ouch. So, it's a meteoric rise. It's absolutely incredible. And you got to thank, like I said, a lot of people to make it happen. Obviously you go to the top with Phil and Penny and, they're absolute legends. Phil's from my neighborhood. I grew up on 35th Street. My wife grew up on 37th. Phil grew up on 36th of the same cross street. Like,
Wow.
Walking to my wife's house, I'd almost walk by Phil's house. And Phil's sister still lives in that house, by the way.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, the fact that it's like, it feels like it's all in the neighborhood for me. Like I said, my grandparents went to Oregon in the 40s, so like I said, Phil Knight's from our neighborhood, went to Cleveland High School. I mean, my parents are there in the 70s. My parents are buying, shoes from Blue Ribbon Sports before even Nike starts, right? So Fifth Street Market. So I think a lot of it has to do with just time and place and where are you at? Are you either at the right place at the right time to be able to take advantage of this kind of thing and to see perspective? And I just happen to be one of those kids who grew up in the analog era, grew up with records, saw records go to tapes, to CDs, to MP3s, to Spotify, right? And the same thing goes with Oregon football. I mean, we started with records. Rich Brooks, we had to really fight for it. We were going to Nebraska and getting beat by 50 for a paycheck. You're just trying to hang on. You're not going to a bowl game. You're beating the Beavs at the end of the year and celebrating like hell. And then you get to the national stage and you play one of the best football teams of all time in that Kajana Carter, Nittany Lions team. Jerry Sandusky defense, by the way, if you want to mention him. And you just get steamrolled there, but you put up a really good fight. You put up great numbers, unbelievable. And then you kind of fall off a little bit. Like we said, we got back on track with Bellotti and had that 0-1 chance to go play one of the greatest college football teams of all time, Miami. It didn't happen, but you got to finish the year strong there. You got to kind of fight and claw through a bunch of different stuff. You've got the Oklahoma game, which was insane. And you've got all sorts of stuff. And then you got the Chip Kelly era. And that's where Sports Chat 503 starts. 2010 is basically, I was like, hey, man, we need to start talking about this. It feels like something different is happening around Oregon football. And the excitement level was there. We're going to different uniform combinations and everything is kind of changing, it feels like. And to go from there, 2007 to the next 16 years, and now we're building this gigantic monstrosity of an indoor practice facility. I mean, it's a really incredible time right now, Dale. So like I said, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a Duck than right now.
It is an incredible time. Dan Lanning, 12-2, 13-1, and 13-2 in the last 3 years. Now,
Right.
The Ducks have faltered at the end a little bit, but you look at that 3-year stretch, Oregon's not often had a better one.
No. And, like we said earlier, I think you can complain sometimes about these end of the year mishaps or getting blown out at the end of the year. It's not even a mishap. You get blown out like that. And it hurts, and I'm at those games. So I was at that Rose Bowl and I was at that Peach Bowl, and it hurts. But I was also at that Orange Bowl where I got to look across the way at the Texas Tech fans who were guns up all week, and they were like shell shocked. I mean, they were completely bought in that they were going to beat this Ducks team. There was no questions asked at all.
High-powered offense scoring
Yeah.
42 points a game.
Yeah.
Rolled through the Big 12. They were a powerhouse.
And incredible defense.
Yeah.
Right? They had that great defense. They had the linebacker, Jake Rodriguez, was, I think, 4th place in the Heisman voting and all. Like, they were just so hyped and so amped. And they walked in and just got completely steamrolled. And the only other team I've ever seen that really happen to was Kansas State. I was at that game as well, that Alamo Bowl. And I was out there tailgating with the Kansas State fans. They say, hey, we're in this game. You all just can't start fast. If y'all start fast, we're in trouble. It was DeAnthony Thomas, first kick back, 7 seconds in. I was like, it's over. So, the shell shock of seeing the Texas Tech fans, I basically was telling my friends that I was with at Miami, I said, hey, we know that feeling, right? What happened last year at the Rose Bowl, right? That felt like that. where it felt like, what the hell just happened? We can't do anything about this. And really the worst part is it feels like you're not supposed to be there, right? You feel like, there's a shame factor of, oh my God, what the hell? What, you spent money to go there. You bought plane tickets, you bought hotel tickets. You feel bad for the guys, you feel bad for the players, but players are just playing a game. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. On to the next one. They're on a plane the next day, get out of there. Fans are the ones that take it so hard. And the fact that you have these people, just woe is me. I mean, the guy at the Rose Bowl was the craziest one. I took a picture of him. I want to say for 3/4 of the game, he had his head in his hands like this, and he was sitting down for the entire game. The first time I saw him, he was in this stance, and I want to say it was in the first quarter, and it was like that the entire game. And so there is a misery of Duck fans of being there. I get it. Somebody on Twitter the other day said something about what was a game where you sat in silence for half hour after the loss, and the guy listed like all these losses, and I was like, oh God, that's a good list. I was like, I was at all those, by the way. Yep. And let me add a couple to that. Let me add the Washington game up there. Bo Nix, Mike Penix, us missed that field goal to those dogs. I mean, my son and I, we get out of that game. We get in the car. We're driving. I want to say we're maybe Puyallup, maybe we're Tacoma before the first word. And I say to my son, as I'm driving, I say, you want anything to drink? And he just says, bleach.
That's a great line.
We've
all known that kind of despair.
Isn't that a great line?
Yes.
But yeah, I went to Stanford. I mean, even this is in the 80s, 87. I was at Stanford and saw them give the ball to Brad Muster, who was a great running back for the Bears later on. And they beat us down there 13-10. So I was like, as a kid, I knew about that Stanford thing. So when the Zach Ertz thing happened, like, again, you can't kill somebody who's already undead, or whatever the thing, this is a situation where we've already seen this horror show before. It's just, you got to sit through it again. But I don't think it's going to be the case this year, Dale. I think I'm going to be in Las Vegas, and I'll be celebrating with a couple of Coors Lights. I have heard that they do sell Coors Light in Las Vegas.
It feels like things are kind of lining up a little bit for the Ducks this season.
It does.
You've got, for one thing, the national championship game, instead of being in Georgia or Miami or someplace like that, it's in Las Vegas. A place where Duck fans can go, where Duck fans can drive if they want to, where hotel rooms are plentiful and relatively inexpensive. It could be instead of the crowd being a sea of red, this time it could be kind of an even footing, and it'd be a little bit familiar because it's in the western half of the United States.
I agree. I was talking to a lot of Indiana fans in Atlanta, and the Indiana fans, God bless them, lovely people. They had been downtrodden for so long. Their program was the worse than the Beavs. And here they go on this meteoric rise. They all jump on board. You want to talk about a bandwagon? Holy moly. They all jump on board, and they're all loving life. And, like you said, it's very difficult to win. It's very difficult to be the best. And, you say, to these Duck fans, well, why wouldn't you go down there? Why don't you do that? So all these Indiana fans are just bewildered that there were not more Duck fans. They just couldn't believe it. And I say, well, you just got to this party. No offense, but last year was the first year of any real relevance for Indiana football. And they went to the playoff the first year, and then the second year they won it. And that's basically it. That's Indiana football's entirety, right? Basically, of being relevant nationally. And I said, yes, we've been here. I said, one of the big reasons why you're not going to see a bunch of Duck fans here is because they know it's coming. And it's going to happen at some point, and they don't want to be a part of it. Now, we took a calculated risk in the Texas Tech thing. I think a lot of Duck fans felt like that was a good matchup for Oregon. And so they were like, let's do it. Let's go to Miami. Miami's totally a different adventure than we ever thought we'd be at. We never thought we'd be at the Orange Bowl. Might never go back again. It might be kind of a bucket list thing. Let's do it. Well, those same Duck fans that were in Atlanta for that first game for Dan Lanning, which I was there for that one as well, they know that sick feeling of going to Atlanta. And the only thing that was redeeming about it was the peaches. So I went down there thinking, okay, it's going to be tough to beat Indiana, but it's hard to beat a good team twice. They beat us already. It was a close game. I talked myself into it. And then, of course, the night before, I'm at the team hotel, and it is just downtrodden. They're like, oh, no, we're cooked. Noah's out. We're cooked. Jordan already, had the clavicle injury the week before. We're done. No, and I mean, I'm looking around the room, and I'm like, oh, no, this is not good. We are absolutely snaked that we can't get out of our own way. So at some point, we've got to just put all that to the side, like the Cubs with the goddamn Billy Goat, or the
Red Sox.
Red Sox.
Yeah. The New York Knicks.
The Knicks just won it this year, like you were talking to KB about.
Yeah.
Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the year for the Ducks to break through that glass ceiling. I mean, shit, nobody thought that Indiana was going to win, and they won last year, so why not us?
Hats off to Cignetti. I mean, what an amazing job he did in turning that program around. They were a team on a mission.
Stud. I saw something where they were doing a interview thing with Big Ten Media Day, and they do all sorts of this stuff where they have these guys go around to all these different, interviews, and it's just a circus. And Cignetti's not really into any of that anyway. And they said he got onto I think it was the Cover 3 podcast maybe. And they said, hey, coach, do you want to play a game where we do this and we do that? And he says, no. All right, then. Thank you so much, Coach. Curt Cignetti, everybody. It was like the end of the interview. And the way he just said straight up that, no, I don't do. Hey, you want to play a game where we talk about this? Then no. All right, then. Well, thank you so much, Coach. And
and after everything he accomplished, Ryan, he could do that.
Sure.
He can pop off as much as he wants. I mean, he can tell the SEC that they're a bunch of quitters and so are losers and excuse makers. He can say whatever he wants. He can do whatever he wants because he proved it.
The guy said, "Google me."
Yeah.
I mean, what a baller comment. The guy says, "Hey man, I don't know what you want. Google me. All we do is we win. Yes. That's what we do. You want a coach that wins? You got one. Google me." What a baller, dude.
So now the Ducks have Dan Lanning, who's a teacher at heart from a family of teachers. And he's a born teacher, a master motivator. And I just feel like this is the year that they put it together, that it really happens for them.
I agree. I mean, he's got, like I said, my dad has always talked about recruiting, stacking classes, right? And getting multiple classes stacked on top of each other. That's what he's done. He hasn't had to go to the transfer portal that much this last year. He's got guys in development mode. He's got guys where he wants them. And this is, again, like you said, this is going to be a big year for them. And I just love Dan Lanning. I love what he stands for. Like you said, he's a teacher. He and I have a very similar vibe with him. When I have met him, numerous times that I've met him, first and foremost, he's absolutely tremendous individual. Very thoughtful. He knows what he's doing at all times. He's calculated, but he's also just a regular guy. And like I said, as a teacher, I think he's a developmental guy. I think he's there for the family values. He's there for the fellowship. He wants his team to be connected. He wants his team to be firing all cylinders, like all coaches. But he really does a lot to open the door to his house. He has players over, and he's got a great family, lovely wife. The story with her and her cancer and everything has really kind of shaped their relationship and their future, and kind of grounded him and her in kind of what is the bigger picture, what's most important. They've got great kids. The oldest one is not really athletic at all. He's in the band. And he actually is really funny. And I've had numerous conversations with him. I have found myself, for whatever reason, right next to them numerous times. I'll give you an example. At the Orange Bowl, they were sitting 2 seats away from me. So
Wow.
yeah, it was. I'm sitting here, and 2 seats away is Sophia and the boys, and they're just a great family. And Dan Lanning is grounded in that. He's got a great structure. He's got a great situation. He knows he's got it good here. When he said the grass is damn green, Eugene, it was the best thing he could have done for us as a program and for him. And he is just a stud. And the other coaches that are here have been great. Like I said, you go all the way back. You can go back to there's some great ones, but my era, it's Rich Brooks who really set the tone, defensive minded coach. Mike Bellotti, who went with the offense, West Coast offense, took some chances, had some very wild offensive coordinators, took some real chances. That obviously the biggest one at the end was Chip, and then became that offensive kind of guru, and then obviously spiraled off, went to the NFL, and now he's at Northwestern. But the idea is that you kind of spiral around. You have that Chip kind of element with Mark Helfrich. You completely bottom out. You break the whole thing down. You bring in basically Mario, because you had Willie for a year or whatever, and then you bring in Mario, and I thought Mario was great, man. I thought Mario did a great job, and I love the fact that he's an offensive lineman. I'm an offensive lineman, defensive end is what I played. I've always seen things through the line. It's always my favorite position group, and Mario was just that guy. And I still think in college coaching, he's one of the top 5 coaches in the game right now. I think last year he really proved it. I mean, I know people have really harped on him when it comes to his time management and some other sort of issues, but he gets great players playing at top flight. He gets them all fired up. And I just love the fact that he was able to go home and really rebuild Miami. Miami should be good. It's better for college football if Miami is good. And we wanted Cristobal. The players voted for him. The players really stuck their neck out to really make their voice heard there. And then obviously when we had the opportunity to bring in Dan, it was a no-brainer. He was the best coach available at that time. Everybody was on it. And everywhere I've gone, every school that I've gone to, when I go and tailgate at those schools, they all say how much they love Dan Lanning. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many conversations I had at Penn State where they all said, they're like this, they're tailgate, they're like, we love your coach. We love your coach, Dan Lanning.
He's got that intensity and drive, and he's real.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, man, he's great. And they'd be kind of like this, ... We don't really like James Franklin. There's kind of one of those people who, like, they ask you, how was your weekend? So you would ask them so they can tell you about their weekend. They really only asked, how was your weekend? So they can tell you about their weekend. These people were like, we love Dan Lanning. Don't really like James Franklin very much. I mean, these people hated James Franklin. They could not tell you how much they despised him as a coach. They didn't buy it. They didn't buy his shtick. It was tired. And it can happen very quickly where you can lose it. You coach speech. It's the same stuff you're wheeling out all the time. If you start losing it doesn't really apply anymore, hit the road, Jack. We got somebody else in here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we love Dan Lanning. He's an absolute stud.
I hope he stays there for 25 years. And Ryan,
I have no reason to say why he wouldn't. He doesn't have NFL aspirations, and he's not going to a dream school.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, you've been so incredibly generous with your time. I had a technical glitch at the beginning, and you just powered right through it with me, and actually repeated a lot of this stuff. And so I really appreciate you. It's been fun to follow you over the years, and what you've been there for all the big moments in not only Oregon football history, but with the Oregon basketball team and with Melissa Lombardi and the softball team. And Yes, I really will enjoy your content for as long as there is Oregon sports, and I hope we get a chance to talk with you again.
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah. Like I said, I think you're doing a great job here. Like I said, I think everybody should have a YouTube channel. If you've got something to say, if you believe in something, if you've got something to give, then give it, and there's a lot of people who might be discouraged. They might not see the views be where they want to be. And I've never looked at the view. I don't care if it gets 100 views, if it gets 1,000 views, if it gets whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I do it for the love of the game, and I do it because I want to do it. I think it's interesting, and I've had nothing but positive feedback. I mean, in all the years I've done YouTube, I don't really do a lot of Twitter. I do every once in a while. I'll check on it here and there, but I don't spend a lot of my time going back and forth, especially on Twitter. But they always say how Twitter's a cesspool, and I'm like, I don't really see that. I see positive stuff on there, but YouTube, you can have some seriously negative interactions. There's a lot of people out on YouTube who just want to flame you in the comments and want to be super negative. And I've really never dealt with that. I mean, I've had a couple people here and there who, for whatever reason, they don't like what I'm doing or they don't like what I'm about. And that's fine. You can't please everybody, but I mean, I can't tell you how many people have come out and say how much it means to them that I do the sports chat, how much they love it. I mean, I've had women first and foremost at almost every single game. People are stopping me to say hello, take a picture, anything else. I've had women tell me that I'm the last voice they hear before they go to bed. I'm like,
you're the Johnny Carson of the Oregon fan
exactly.
community.
I remember with my grandmother, Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, my husband, and she points over at Jeff or whatever his name is. My husband here will be watching your show in bed, listening to you. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not my fault that this guy chooses to watch the thing, at the wrong time, whatever. But it's just hilarious to me that, we try to make a positive impact, try to make a difference. But I really love the community, and that's what I'm here for. I'm a community guy. I love being a teacher. I love servicing my community in the classroom. I love being a part of the community. I'm a PA announcer. That's very community oriented as well. Love PA announcing. Shout out to Don Essig.
You're the Don Essig of Milwaukee High School.
I am the Don Essig of Milwaukee High School. I definitely rip him off. I don't do It Never Rains. That's too hack for me.
That's too far.
It's too far. But I do the weather report. So I started off by saying it's 62 degrees, a light breeze from the northwest. And then the way Don says it is actually, it's pretty ingratiating, actually. It's saying, let our friends from whatever school know it never rains at Autzen Stadium. And so he'll obviously say something like, let our friends from Los Angeles know. And we don't say that at our school, but let's say I'll say Putnam or whatever. That's in our district. And let our friends from Putnam know. And we actually lost a coach. We had a coach that for years, he actually died on the bus after a game coming back. Talk about, and this guy was at our school for like 30 years. Coach Roland Omuler, an absolute legend. And so we do a kind of a call and response. And now I say, it's 62 degrees, light breeze. Let our friends from Putnam know this is Coach Ohm's house. They do a whole chant, And but my other favorite is, like I said, I was a big sports guy, and my favorite is radio play-by-play announcer. That's what I really wanted to do when I was a kid, would be play-by-play announcer. And, well, this inning, is brought to you by Farmer John's, and so I grew up obviously loving Dave Niehaus. I'm a Mariner fan, freaking Bill Schonely, the absolute legend. And of course, our guy, Jerry Allen, the legends of my time with behind the mic, but Sean's, man. So as basketball, whenever I started, I would say, wherever you may be, even though we're all in a gym, we're all in the same space. I always give Sean's out. And then the other one, which is phenomenal, is at the very end, I'll be like, drive safe and good night, everybody. And you can just hear the horns go. So I love sports. I love sports radio. I love being on the mic. It's a great thing. And Dale, you're doing a good service to the community here. So come on and join us on a live stream Tuesday night, 5:30 to 7:30 Pacific Coast time. If you want to join the live, the long content form, if you want to join the short one, come on in anytime. I'll be having videos up this fall.
Well, it'll be a delight to watch you and listen to you follow the Oregon story. It's going to be a great year in Oregon football. Ryan, I really appreciate you, and I hope we get a chance soon to have a beer and just chat.
Anytime. Appreciate you, Dale. Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right. See you guys. Have a good one.